Gosh dang it. Well, for all of you who end up watching us after the fact, which probably won't be a lot of you, I thought because of this being the first ranking show, thought I would do a little bit of a live reaction. So, oops, what I do? Okay, I'm gonna try to share this because this was not really planned. I just kind of thought of this today. So, um, let me know if you're in the chat. Let me know if everything sounds fine. Send that out on Twitter, and we'll get rolling here. So I hate doing this because when you go live, YouTube literally like it doesn't give you a chance to like see how everything looks. It's just like, hey, here you go. Okay. All right. Clemson fan number one, what's going on? You're a little worried about Clemson? Clemson, I mean, I don't know. What's Clemson going to be? They got one loss. You'll be four at minimum. So you might jump up to three of us. So I wouldn't be too worried if I was you. I think the interesting thing to me is going to be how does the committee view Indiana? Because from Ohio State's perspective, you know, either they think Indiana's not a very good football team, and then in that case, they'd probably move Ohio State down to either 4 or 5, and then I mean, if they think Indiana's a good team, Ohio State will probably be around 3. I don't see any higher than 3. Um, but if they don't think Indiana's a good team, man, they might drop them. They really might. I might just roll no hat. I don't know what was on that. I don't know what. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Um, and that's the thing. How much are they going to account for games that couldn't be played? You know, because there are so many games um, with Clemson being one of the bigger programs, um, who's had to have games canceled. And it's like, well, are they going to view that, as a negative? It's going to be interesting. Let me turn this up. Hopefully, YouTube don't take this down. Yeah, Ohio State's going to probably end up playing Northwestern in the Big Ten title game, which certainly it does not help. You know, if they would have end up playing Wisconsin, because Wisconsin has um, some corona issues, and I believe you have to play at least 6 games to get in. So to the Big Ten title game. So if they don't play 6 games, then Ohio State's pretty much a lock for Northwestern, and I don't think that helps. I don't know. But anyway, anybody in the chat, let me know if everything sounds fine and if you can hear the TV. I'm trying to like listen to the TV and this as well. Just because I know they're going to start with like the bottom top 25, whatever. Um, So it probably won't be till later. So I'm not really worried about it right now. But yeah. That's another question. Are they going to view Notre Dame beating Clemson as, hey, Clemson beat a non-Trevor Lawrence team? That's going to be interesting to see if they take that into account. Well, they'll certainly take it into account. It's just a matter of how much are they going to take that into account. Um, that's the question. DJ. Oh, I couldn't even do it. Uyangale, is that right? I think Uyangalele, something like that. DJ, whatever. He's phenomenal. I think when it's his time to come out of the go into the draft, he's going to be a top 5 pick. I mean, with his size, his stature, and his abilities, I mean, that is a special player. So, are they going to account for his lack of experience, or are they going to say, "Hey, Clemson, he's still a very good player. We think you should be better." That's kind of the question here. So I just want to throw a hat on because I don't know why it's just not comfortable when you have headphones on. For me, it's just not comfortable. So I'm gonna say that the final for today, it's probably gonna be um, Bama 1, Clemson 2, Ohio State 3, or not Clemson 2. I'm sorry, Notre Dame 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson 4. I think that Ohio State beating a top 10 team in Indiana in the rankings. Because keep in mind, and this is something I did hear a while ago. I can't remember from who. Keep in mind, Clemson and Bama, they've been playing a lot longer. And Clemson had a game with Trevor Lawrence. I think it was Boston College that it went down to the wire. Um, so that would be very similar. Well, actually, it wouldn't be similar. It'd be a lot worse than Clemson or than Ohio State playing it close with Indiana. Indiana was, I believe, a top 10 team, if I remember right, number 9, I think. Um, so I don't know. So much of this, and this is why, this year it's easy to say it shouldn't be more than the 4 teams. But I think overall, I think just for the long term, they need to make it 8 because you're not going to have seasons like this year. I go back to the year where Ohio State got in over Penn State. Um, that Penn State team was pretty good. But because Ohio State was just that dominant, really name brand. Ohio State got in over Penn State, despite Penn State becoming Big Ten champs. So, I think there needs to be an 8-team playoff. I think is this final? I don't know if this is final or not. I don't know if this is projections or real. Tulsa at 25, Iowa at 24, Oklahoma State at 23, Auburn 22, 21 is Marshall. Not quite sure. I think this might be real. I wasn't quite sure when they would come out with these uh with the rankings, but because all these shows say, hey, we're starting at 7 or starting at 8, and then half an hour later and it still hasn't started. So it is what it is. But I do believe what I'm hearing over this is that these are the final. So it's interesting to me that Iowa uh is going to be 24 here with 2 losses coming off of stomping Penn State. It's very interesting to me. All right, 20 is I can't see. North Carolina's 19, USC's 18, Texas is 17, and Wisconsin is ranked 16. So it's interesting. So Wisconsin at 2-1, 16. Huh. So borderline a top 15 team. Who did they lose to? I can't remember who Wisconsin. Can't remember. I'm surprised they got Texas that high. I don't think Texas is a good football team. I'm sorry. All right, top 15. Oregon's ranked 15. BYU coming in at 14. 13 is Iowa State. Indiana coming in at 12. Oklahoma at 11. Okay. So Indiana drops back just a few spots. BYU's climbing up the charts at number 14. Yeah, I thought BYU would be higher. I did. That would be an interesting game. Oklahoma against Indiana. I feel like those teams, the name brands of those two teams are very different. But I do think that'd be an interesting game. So number 10, you got Miami. Are they going to show the others? What's their record? 7-1. Number 9, Georgia. Georgia coming in at number 9. It's going to be interesting to see how much higher Georgia can jump now that they finally got. Doesn't make sense why they would start Stetson Bennett. No disrespect to Stetson Bennett, but I mean, JT Daniels is not the best quarterback, but it is what it is. Northwestern coming in at number 8. It's good for Ohio State to see. Very good for Ohio State to see. Northwestern, I believe, will finish out undefeated. Likely. I'm not saying it's a done deal, but I would say that is it's likely to occur here. So that would give Ohio State a pretty good number there to face in the Big Ten title game, per the committee, what they think of them. So number 8's not bad. Not bad at all. You figure they might be able to jump up, 6 or 7 by the end of the year. Maybe. Wow, Cincinnati coming in at number 7. Wow. They, not that they don't deserve it. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that's a very good sign if you're Cincinnati on what the committee thinks of you, that you can be up that high. There's some teams below Cincinnati. I'm looking at Georgia in particular, where I could easily see the committee saying, "Hey, you got a good record. We don't think you could beat this team." So that's a lot of people would say, "Hey, they might deserve to be 6, whatever." But that's very good if you're Cincinnati to see as far as your playoff hopes. Just keep winning and hope for the best, and you're in a good spot. Cincinnati's a talented team. Problem is this year, is the competition you're facing. In your division, it is what it is. You see this in the SEC. It's kind of like they're eating each other up a little bit. You look at the mid to good teams with your Floridas, your Auburns, teams like that who, um, when that's your schedule you're playing, it is what it is. Ohio State kind of dealing with the same thing where it's like, hey, is Indiana good or are we just playing in the Big Ten? Big Ten title game, is Northwestern going to be good or is it just that they're in the Big Ten? So Florida coming in at number 6. It's a good spot for them. Not mad with that. Texas A&M coming in at number 5. This is going to be interesting. Who are they going to put in at 4? I can't stand Kellen Mond. I'm sorry. He's just the ugliest passer I think I've ever seen. I mean, his throwing motion's literally this. It looks horrible. He's horrible. I heard somebody talking about him for in the draft. He's terrible. I wouldn't touch him. I wouldn't touch him as a first string quarterback. All right, number 4 should coming in here shortly. Maybe. So Florida at 6, Texas A&M coming in at number 5. So number 1 team, Alabama Crimson Tide. Not shocking. They're starting with 1. I thought they'd start with 4. So Alabama coming in at number 1. I suspect number 2 is going to be Notre Dame. Unless they put Ohio State at 2. Nope, Notre Dame will go to 2. Both teams, number 1 and number 2, are undefeated. Bama 7-0, Notre Dame 8-0. Notre Dame will have a chance to play Clemson, probably in the ACC championship. Clemson comes in at number 3, and Ohio State coming in at number 4. Wow. Okay. All right. So it's kind of interesting. It's not a good sign if you're Ohio State, I would say. Now, it doesn't. I don't know that this kind of makes sense to me. Clemson's had more games to play, so you got to give them that. So they got a 7-1. So they got a 1-loss team, a 1-loss. Let me rephrase that. A 1-loss Clemson team over an undefeated Ohio State team. So keep in mind, Ohio State would have played Maryland, so they probably would have been 5-0. So it doesn't look as good, I guess you could say. Let me mute this. It doesn't look as good when you put that 4 number up there compared to 7. But the good news is they have Northwestern currently at number 8. Northwestern's probably going to go undefeated. They had Indiana sitting there at 12, I believe. So when it's all said and done, Ohio State would get 2 top 15 wins. Indiana sitting in at 12. Yeah. Ohio State number 4, Bama setting. I don't think it's going to finish that way. I don't. Because, well, first of all, let's look at it this way. Clemson and Notre Dame, one of them is going to play each other. And if Clemson has 2 losses, that does not mean that they are eliminated, I wouldn't say. But Clemson would certainly have to slip in there at number 4. I don't think Ohio State's going to get the number 1 spot. I don't. Just because of the situation that we're in right now. I don't think Ohio State will get the number 1 spot when it's all said and done. I think Bama's pretty much got that locked up. And I don't think Bama is, I honestly don't think Bama is the best team, but based on where we're at right now, that is the spot you have to put them at. But I think this is a year where all these good teams, your Clemson's, Ohio State, Bama, gonna put Notre Dame in this list. I'm gonna go with the elite of the elite, the top 3 I just said. I think they're all pretty much the exact same. They all have their flaws, they all have their strengths, but I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised that they would put Clemson over Ohio State. But when it's all said and done, Clemson's going to have a chance to really take care of um, that loss against Notre Dame if they beat them in the ACC title game. So my guess is you could see the final rankings come down to number one being either Alabama or Clemson. I really think those are the two fighting for that one spot. So I think number one and number two is probably going to be locked up. Schedule. Okay, so Saturday, Clemson's at Pitt, and then they got Virginia Tech. They should win. I mean, Pitt might give you maybe a challenge. Could see Notre Dame losing and moving to 5 or 4. Clemson, Ohio State. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I feel like, and no disrespect to Notre Dame fans, because I think, Notre Dame's been a solid team. It is. I don't think that Notre Dame is that next caliber team. I've talked about this all the time. I think there's 4 tiers in college football. There's bad, there's okay, there's good, and there's elite. Notre Dame, to me, is in that good range. They're not elite. They're not there yet. And yeah, they're 8-0. They are. That's great. But it's another thing that I talked about with the with the conference. They're playing in the ACC. Not a lot of good teams. Your only competition is Clemson, and when Clemson played you, it was without their starting quarterback. Like I said, I'm not hating on DJ. I think he's a pretty good player. But he's not anywhere close to Trevor yet. And I do think I already talked about, I think when it's his time, he's going to be a really, really good quarterback heading into the draft. I hope Notre Dame loses. They go back to 4. I want Bama to give them a flashback. I don't think that Notre Dame is a lock for the playoffs. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think when you look at the competition down the way, there's a lot of teams that are like, okay. But I think Clemson's going to beat Notre Dame in the ACC title game, and that'll basically take care of that because the committee's going to say, okay, you didn't have your starting quarterback. So I could see either the final rankings come down to a number 1 Clemson or a number 1 Alabama. Ohio State comes in at number 3. And then for that 4 spot, I really do think it is up in the air. Notre Dame does not have it locked up. If Clemson comes out and really, I don't want to say just beats them. I want to say if Clemson comes out and really controls them, I guess is the right thing to say. They have a good chance, but to me, they don't have locked in. Clemson's most likely going to beat them in the ACC. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. I think for Notre Dame, honestly, my thing with Notre Dame is I think they are a team who could very well lose a game that they're supposed to win. I'm sorry I'm sitting here in the dark. I just want to keep these teams up. Number 6 is Florida. Florida is going to lose to Bama in the SEC championship game. Or if Florida happens to win, then Florida would probably take over. Florida would get in, of course. So Bama would become Bama. What would Bama be if they lost to Florida? Let's think about this here. Would Clemson go to 1, Ohio State 2, Bama 3, Florida 4? Does that sound right? Cincinnati sitting there at number 7 is huge for Cincinnati. It's huge because they're in a spot where if things fall their way, they could easily be in that conversation. Northwestern won't, unless they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, which I don't see happening. No hate, but it is what it is. Why is this stupid screen not going back? YouTube TV, I'm telling. There we go. Okay. Can definitely see Bama and Ohio State in the championship. Yeah. It feels like we're due that game. That's one of these games that's kind of been. We saw Ohio State beat Alabama the first time in the national championship year. But those two teams have had very different paths since then, and it seems like I personally would like to see that again. So, yeah, depends how bad Florida beats them. If Florida wins a close game with Alabama, yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen, but it's certainly a scenario. Um, Northwestern and Oklahoma too high. BYU's too low. I agree. I think BYU is way too low. Oklahoma, um, uh, I'm an Ohio State fan, but I'm a Browns fan, and Oklahoma is kind of that side team that I like to watch a lot because obviously the Browns have Baker Mayfield. And I also like Kyler Murray. I like the talent that comes out of Oklahoma. I was a big CeeDee Lamb guy. Um, so I like Oklahoma. I watch them. They're probably, if you ask who's my second favorite team, I'd probably say Oklahoma. But they suck. They suck this year. Who do you think's going to win the Heisman? Well, I was going to say Justin Fields, but he had the worst game of his career against Indiana. And his worst game is a lot of quarterbacks' best game. I don't know. I don't know quite yet. I can tell you the list is starting to really condense in my opinion. Mac Jones has been very good. I don't see him winning the Heisman. I don't. And I don't really have a reason. I don't see it. It's just a gut feeling. I don't see it. Kyle Trask, I mean, he's in the conversation. I'm not really sold on him being a like I don't know how to say it. Like Kyle Trask to me is a guy who's in the conversation, but if you said, "Hey, do you think Kyle Trask is going to win the Heisman?" I'd probably say, I doubt it. BYU's quarterback Zach Wilson, I certainly think that he is. If you said, "Hey, Zach Wilson won the Heisman," I'd whatever. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't know. I don't know. To me, it'd be hard for Trevor to get it based on how their season's gone with the COVID issues. And, I just don't feel like unless he just, I don't know. Fields, I don't think is completely out of it. I think he would just have to really, really dominate in an insane way the rest of the year, which is certainly possible. But he just looked terrible against Indiana. It's between Trask and Mac. All goes down to the SEC. Maybe. If that happens, I don't know. Because here's the deal with Bama: losing Jalen Waddle's huge. Like I have not heard a whole lot of people talk about that. I think losing Jalen Waddle is a very, very big deal. And I'm not saying that they won't win a game because of it. But I think his impact is huge. So I don't know for sure, but I'm a huge Devontae Smith guy. I don't know. Honestly, Notre Dame, let's get to here's the thing with that. If Notre Dame beats Clemson again and it's close, I think Clemson's still gonna get in. I think Clemson will slip into 4. And honestly, I think that would be the best thing for this playoff committee because they wouldn't even have to think about 4. They would see Clemson despite whatever happens, and they would put them in. That's what would happen. If Alabama blows out Florida, probably. Does Waddle have a chance to return? I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear about that. So the initial number 1 seed made the last 5 seasons, never won a national championship. 3 seed has never made a college football playoff. So Clemson would make history. Cincinnati, wherever they slotted, I think said I can't remember what that said. Yeah, he does. Might want to look it up. Yeah, I'll do that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. I'm not a huge I don't know. All right, so just to recap, Alabama number 1, Notre Dame number 2, Clemson 3, Ohio State 4, A&M 5. A&M will not be there. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't stand Kellen Mond. He's horrible. So the most interesting thing to me is Cincinnati and Northwestern being as highly ranked as they are. Cincinnati from the standpoint of, hey, they might be able to sneak in the back door there. Northwestern because, hey, Ohio State's going to end up playing Northwestern. So it is what it is. If Florida does end up beating Alabama, it's going to be, I think Bama would probably, Bama would have 1 loss. So they'd probably slip in at 4, whatever. I don't know. Oklahoma has no shot, in my opinion. Iowa State has no shot, in my opinion. I don't think a Big 12 team's getting in. I don't. BYU has an outside shot. I think them putting BYU at 14 is kind of saying, hey, it's a good story, So, outside of that, I mean, we'll see how the rest of the year plays out. I just hope that Indiana is actually a really, really good team, and Ohio State is just they had an off game. But I think Ohio State's a young team. I think that's the problem. I think, especially in that secondary, they got a lot of very inexperienced players starting. Seven Banks, Hooker, Proctor. These guys are, really, really young players. Look at everything Ohio State lost. Chase Young, Jeff Okuda, Jordan Fuller. Those are huge pieces. Jordan Fuller is one of those guys who people really just kind of skipped over. And, he's had a huge, huge impact in his absence here. I feel like Florida beats Bama by a field goal. It's going to be like 2017, even though, yeah, I agree. That's kind of where I'm thinking too. I feel like what the committee wants is they want either an Alabama loss so they could, because I think honestly where the committee's at right now, if things go the way we think it's gonna go, Notre Dame gets beat by Clemson, Ohio State wins out, Bama wins out, then that number 4 spot's going to be like, oh, okay, who of the lower tier are we going to pick from here? Because Florida with 2 losses, if Bama beats Florida pretty decently, I don't see them. Cincinnati's interesting. Northwestern won't be there. Georgia probably not. They got 2 losses, and they wouldn't be SEC champion. So the committee is kind of really hoping for one of these top tier teams to fall, because I really don't think Notre Dame's going to get in. I just have a feeling that Clemson's going to end up beating them pretty convincingly in the ACC title game, and they'll probably drop down to like 6, 7, something like that. I don't know. I just don't think Notre Dame. And I would love Notre Dame to get in. Believe me, I'd love to play Notre Dame round 1. Trust me. I think Notre Dame is not a good team. Or I'm sorry, not an elite team. They're a good team. I think Notre Dame, they're just one of these teams that look a little bit better than they actually are. And you know, and the funny thing is we've seen this with Notre Dame before. So it's kind of where we're at. So this is an interesting year for the playoffs, you know? It's not like the last few years where it was like, feel like since Clemson finally has Lawrence, they're gonna beat. Exactly. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't buy Notre Dame. I don't. But like I said, DJ's not a bad quarterback either. I think he's just inexperienced. So maybe Notre Dame's actually a pretty good team. I don't buy it. I don't. I'd sell my Notre Dame stock. So but yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, it's not like, because I've always said I think we need an 8-team playoff, just so these teams that we really should get in have a chance. You can say, well, they're not going to make the Final Four anyway, but at least they would have a chance to get in the dance and at least try to prove themselves, But the thing about the Final Four is, the Final Four gets you ratings. It's all about drama. Who's going to make it in. Last year was who's going to be that number 1 seed, LSU or Ohio State. It's all about ratings. Notre Dame's a decent team. Somehow if they make it to the Natty, yeah. If Notre Dame, who would Notre Dame be playing? So in order for Notre Dame to get in, they would likely have to beat Clemson again. That would put them at number 2, right? So they'd end up playing Ohio State. I don't see them. I'm sorry. I mean, if they beat Ohio State, then either Ohio State's fake or yeah. So Clemson would probably get in at 4 with 2 losses, play Alabama, and then Ohio State play Notre Dame. I want to see that game. I want to see an Alabama Clemson matchup because I feel like Clemson's better, but Alabama's playing better as a unit right now. Who knows? But anyway, I think if Notre Dame faces Ohio State, they would have. Yeah, exactly. And I think that Fields bad. That the bad game by Fields, I feel like, is an anomaly. I don't think. I've watched Justin Fields here at Ohio State for 2 years now. I watched him. I went to the first game he ever played at Ohio State, and I went that year for the spring game. Well, it was last year. I'm saying that year like it was 5 years ago. And when I seen him in the spring game, there's just certain guys that you see and you're just like, okay, I understand why they are so good. And I mean, when I first walked in and seen him, I'm like, he looks like Cam Newton 2.0. Um, and I mean, his arm is a lot better than people give him credit for. He's just got to learn to get rid of the ball quicker. And if he can do that, he'll be he'll be elite. And he already is right now, but that's just an aspect of his game that he could get better at. If Georgia, I don't like Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart to me is one of the most overrated head coaches. He's horrible. I mean, he can recruit. Yes, that's great. Great. Kirby Smart can recruit. What are you going to do with those recruits? What are you going to do? He's had how many 5-star quarterbacks, or not even just 5-star? How many really good quarterbacks? I mean, he had Justin Fields and Jacob Eason, and he ends up going with what's his name? Yeah, he is a good defense. I mean, Georgia's had really good defenses. I mean, this year's defense is pretty good. But defense is all well and good, and yeah, sure, defenses win you championships, but defenses can't win you championships when you have Stetson Bennett as your starting quarterback. And it's just frustrating. Yeah, Jake Fromm. He's terrible. And not even just Justin Fields. Let's throw Justin Fields out. Jacob Eason is a damn good quarterback, or at least was, at Washington. He was way better than Fromm ever dreamed of being. You can argue that he's not great, but he's certainly not terrible. Georgia to me is Georgia. I'd be embarrassed to be a Georgia fan. And I know Uncle Lou subscribes to me, and I know he's not watching this, but Uncle Lou, if you happen to see this, Georgia's an embarrassment. Georgia is an absolute embarrassment. And I know he's, at least the good thing about Uncle Lou is he at least he comes out and says says the truth about his team sometimes. Nowadays he's just crying over the election. But and not crying. I shouldn't even go there. But yeah, I mean, he at least when his team sucks, he knows it. Now, obviously, he goes overboard because that's what you do for YouTube. But it is what it is. I don't know. I haven't been watching him a lot recently because all he does is scream about Trump supporters and complain and all that. It's not what I click on his videos for. I want him to scream about how terrible his team is, not complain about something that you have no power over. So, and it is what it is. And by the way, I talked about the election too. I talk about what I want, but I do my best not to, interject everything I talk about with other things, And that's the problem. I feel like, all these other creators and sports channels and, I mean, that's why you see ESPN and all these other places ratings tanking. I don't understand. People don't get that, people, if you're known for sports, people aren't going to come to you for politics. They're going to come to you for sports. And that's why, I mean, if people want to hear politics, they're going to go to who they want to listen to. That's just a proven fact. Look at the ratings. But yeah, anyway. Uncle Lou, man, I mean, back in the day, not back in the day, but in the heyday, I guess you could say, He was pretty good. The best part about Uncle Lou was, the Tennessee jokes, and uh, I can't remember, but he's one of them who you go back and you watch some of the old stuff just for entertainment, not even for um information, just for entertainment. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's sad that how I don't know. I probably shouldn't even talk about it, but so I mean, I guess it is what it is. Been going about 45 minutes now. So I think I'm gonna do a I don't even know if you could call it a podcast if you checked out my channel. With Cam, talk about the Browns game, talk about the upcoming stuff. So gonna be doing that later. Hopefully have that out later. So yeah. Final rankings: Bama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, top 4. So obviously that is going to change. But for the initial rankings, it is what it is. Love how honest Uncle Lou is. When Georgia sucks, he admit it. Yeah, sometimes. I mean, you know, I mean, with Stetson Bennett, sometimes he gets on saying about how great he is. And then when it goes bad, it's like, oh, he's the worst quarterback ever lived. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I know it says I only got 2 people on here. I appreciate you guys watching. And hopefully I do this. Hopefully I do this for every ranking show. I love college football. My channel is mostly Brown stuff. Second would be Ohio State stuff, but I really do love college football. Stetson for Heisman. Yeah, well, good luck with that. So, all right. I think I will go. I appreciate everybody watching. Like the video, I guess. Subscribe, whatever. You know the drill. So, see you in the next one. Bye.